Welcome on Texas football. Time for the Saturday conversation. We're about, 4 or 5 hours from kickoff, guys. Longhorns getting ready to take on San Jose State. We're going to talk about what we're expecting to see more of today than maybe what we saw a week ago against Ohio State. We're also going to preview some of the other games around the SEC as well as a couple of those in conference and give you our final score predictions. But let's start, guys, with the look at Texas versus San Jose State. This episode of On Texas Football and the Saturday Conversation brought to you by Tito's, America's original handcrafted vodka. Thank you to Tito's for sponsoring Saturday Conversation all year or all season long here. Rod, you are our resident expert X's and O's guy, and you have a list of things you expect Texas to do differently this weekend, later today, than last week against Ohio State. What are those things that you can articulate to the folks out there?
All right, I'll try to keep it short here, even though I do have a very long list. Some of the things that even Sark earlier this week, right, he confirmed that we're going to see more under center. That wasn't just a specific matchup thing for Ohio State. That's going to be part of the offensive identity from now on. He said he likes Arch under center, said it adds some juice to the run game. Now, against Ohio State, it only juiced the run game a little bit, not that much. And it didn't help Arch too much in the play action department either because he wasn't great in play action. But I do think going forward, he'll improve. But I do think ultimately Sark wants that to be a part of it. So you're going to see it. I think he likes CJ Baxter running downhill. You're going to see more straight drop back, I think. I think they want to get Arch comfortable. I think everybody needs to go back and watch his straight drop backs. No RPOs, no play action passes. All right. I include the scrambles, right, in there too, when he straight drop back and then end up scrambling. So ended up being 24 total plays, right, guys, where he just had straight drop back. That includes sacks and includes scrambles, but that excludes RPOs and play action pass. Guys, they average 6.6 yards per play. You average 5 yards per play, period, as an offense. But when you had him just drop straight back, all right, whether he was scrambling or whether it was a sack or whether he decided to throw the football, 60% passing and 6.6 yards per play, 7.2 yards per attempt. You're going to see more straight drop back. He's comfortable in it. Also, you need to see more 21 than 12, or at least less 12 and more 21, or you need to find more options in your 12 personnel. Sark wants to run it a lot, probably 35% of the time. Then in that game, guys, your passing game was non-existent out of 12 personnel, and it really didn't juice your run game. You actually averaged more yards per run in 11 personnel than you did 12 personnel. You guys know how I feel about the pony package. You should see with a healthy CJ Baxter and a healthy Trey Wisner, a little bit more 21 personnel with two backs. So those are some things I just throw out there. That's top of mind. I got a longer list, but that's it for now.
I'll tell you what, Gerry, you and I can talk a little bit on this, and I looked at that passing game, and you mentioned the 12 personnel, which means one running back and two tight ends versus 21, which people that follow this channel understand is two running backs and one tight end. The question I come back to, and this is something that Caleb Downs, the Ohio State safety, said after the game 2 days later in an interview. He said that they decided to double team Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Moore. And so when you're in 12 personnel, you're doubling your two receivers. That takes away Arch's kind of first and second read, most likely, and you're just playing lighter in the box.
That's true.
That could affect his passing numbers too. And going to 12 personnel frankly, Jack Indries looks like he is a real threat in the passing game. Spencer Shannon has to prove that. He didn't even have a target on Saturday. Gerry, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think when they go to 12 personnel, I think Sark, he's good at giving hints. And he said we're going to see more of Nick Townsend. And I think maybe some of the 12 personnel moving forward is to get, to Rod's point, Bobby, into what Caleb Downs said, two receiving threats at tight end on the field. Because Nick Townsend's a physical, willing blocker. Jack Indries is a willing blocker. I think in 12, you're going to see two pass receiving threats at tight end moving forward. And maybe a Georgia game's different, right? But maybe it's not because they got to help Arch. To some of Rod's points too on this, what he talked about was under center more, straight dropbacks more. How does the Mannings teach a Manning how to play quarterback? That's it. Arch is going to be comfortable in straight dropbacks because the Mannings teach the game from under center, not in the shotgun. That's the way he's been taught the position. So he sees it well because he's done it his whole life.
Yeah.
And so that was one of my takeaways from what Rod said. I think this is Sark fitting, and I think it fits what Sark truly wants to do too. Don't get me wrong. But I think this is Sark developing Arch as a pro prospect. A lot of what we're seeing here too, because that is what the Mannings do. That's the way he's been taught the game. And they sent Arch to Texas to be developed under Sark. Well, how are you going to develop him? You're going to develop him for the NFL game, right? Now, you're still trying to win games. Don't get me wrong. But that's part of the equation here. It's got to be. That's part of how your message when you recruited Arch Manning. You can't go away from the message of how you recruited the guy when you got him here.
Rod, you talk about that under center piece of the equation. Are there elements that you noticed also that we should be looking for differently than what we saw Arch overall? I mean, obviously he looked a little hurried or panicked or just had the yips a little bit against Ohio State.
Yep.
Obviously we look for something more than that, and that'll be one of the keys that we watch. What about on the defensive side of the ball? You think Texas is going to do anything different? They're going to have to, because San Jose State apparently going to throw the ball. If you listen to Sark, they're going to throw it 50 times. That's the exact opposite of what Ohio State did.
Yeah, I think you could end up seeing, depending on how much they want to spread Texas out and how much they want to throw, you could see the NASCAR package on some earlier downs. And you saw it versus Ohio State. I went back and actually started tracking the NASCAR package specifically earlier this week. And you actually saw the NASCAR package on downs other than just third down versus Ohio State. Which means I think in this game, you could also see that be the case, because this is a team that largely their running game is just symbolic. San Jose State wants to throw it 45 times, and they actually throw it downfield. CJ told us that and gave us those numbers. This is a group that wants to throw it downfield vertically, so they will challenge Texas. So you also may see the dime. They went NASCAR nickel versus Ohio State. You may see the dime package actually. And I will say this, they love Ty Anthony Smith so much in that role that actually he makes it unnecessary to have the dime out there. But when you're going against a team like San Jose State that wants to throw it a ton, I mean, and considering how well your DBs played, you got 3 starting safeties. Now you believe you got 3 starting corners with Grayson Littleton playing as well as he did. Throwing a Kobe Black in there, that's 7 DBs you trust. So you might see that dime package to match up.
Rod, we're kind of come up with a new term for the Ty Anthony Smith dime. It's jumbo dime. Jumbo dime is when Ty Anthony's in the game. That's what you're going to see Saturday. Jumbo dime.
He's got that 26, so it does freak you out. You're like, what is that? Who is that? I like
you guys are funny. All right. Final score of this game, I picked Texas 48-7. The line today is 36.5 with a 52.5 point over. 48-7 clears that hurdle on the line. Rod and Gerry, what did you guys come up with for this game?
Yeah, I went 48-14, late touchdown by San Jose State to get the cover. They're going to keep throwing it late, right? I think that late touchdown, the one the bettors hate, 62, I think I love the over here, but I think one of those late scores could really affect whether it's the number ends up being 35.5, 36.5. Man, but a lot of this stuff goes to how Sark wants this game to play out. I mean, that's really how much work does the passing game get? What does San Jose State do? I hope they play, and I've said this, Rod, we haven't done a show together. I hope San Jose State plays a ton of zone so Arch can hit guys, Sark can call the plays that Arch is going to see more as the season moves along. San Jose State coming out to play load the box and play man and letting Arch throw it over the top of them, that doesn't do Texas any good this year. No. I hope San Jose State plays a lot of zone so Sark and Arch can talk through that game on the head comms, and Arch can make all the passes against the zone that Sark's going to want to see him make as the season moves along. But I went 48-14.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I went 52-0. Now, I'll give CJ some credit. CJ kind of inspired me because he kept talking about these 50 burgers. So I went with CJ's 50 burger there. But I'm going with a shutout, too. I think this defense, and man, considering they had no takeaways, they had no sacks. They've been hearing that all week. Guys, you guys played great, but y'all didn't make no plays. Y'all didn't make enough plays out there. Sark even brought it up, right? He's like, yeah, I think we had a 24 game streak consecutive of takeaways. And now, I think that was a big reason why, we couldn't get over the hump versus Ohio State. So I think there's going to be an emphasis on that, on these guys hawking the ball. And what better team to do it against than San Jose State, who wants to throw the ball a ton. And you got a plethora of pass rushers to throw out there at it. You got Simmons, you got Burke, you got Moore, we got Spence, we got Bosick. I mean, I lose count. They got Lance Jackson's out there now a lot too. So I just think you're gonna bombard them with pass rushers. And like I said, they should play that NASCAR on some earlier down, maybe on a second down, second and long, and I think they'd get some better results. So 52-0 is what I'm going with. A shutout, baby.
And by the way, the San Jose State quarterback, the 2 picks he threw, he had 2 picks and a fumble last week. The 2 picks he threw against Central Michigan, one would be a pick 6 against Texas, and the other one in the end zone dang well could be a 104-yard interception return. They were both opposite hash, under duress throws, ill-advised throws. If Texas puts heat on him and he makes ill-advised throws in this game, they go the other way.
As we put a bow on this this game this morning for On Texas Football, I want to mention a stat that Gerry brought up that I think is important. Texas right now has the #1 defense yards against if you played a Power 4 conference team. They held the #1 or 2 ranked team in the country, whatever you want to call Ohio State, to 203 yards. No Power 4 conference team that played another Power 4 conference team held somebody. So, Rod, your 52 burger or whatever you want to call it, alongside that 0, that we'll see how that goes later today. All right, I want to thank again our friends over at Tito's for sponsoring this year's Saturday conversation, getting everybody warmed up. It's not a tailgate without Tito's, America's original handcrafted vodka. Please check them out and take them to your tailgate. Hey, guys, also just a programming note. We have our Texas tailgate that comes up around 9 o'clock later this morning. That'll be brought to you by our friends over at Hargrove. Then we jump forward to Watch With Us. That starts at 11 o'clock alongside Aaron Hogan, Rod, Gerry, Coach Bob Shipley, as well as Jeff Howe will jump in and take you through the game. And then in the postgame, myself, along with Rod Babers and lifetime Longhorn Brian Robeson, national champion and 10-plus year NFL vet, will be joining us in the postgame. Let's talk about, and that will be brought to you by Flight by Yingling. I want to mention them because they've been a great sponsor, and they're going to sponsor some of our tailgate activities later today as well. All right, around the SEC, we do this every week. I don't want to spend a ton of time on these, but I think we have to, and deservedly so. Michigan, Oklahoma is the 6:30 game tonight on ABC. Texas's game is on ABC, by the way, at 11. So Michigan, OU, 45.5-point over-under. So they're not expecting a big scoring game. And then 5.5-point favorites, the Sooners are at home. So they're taking John Mateer over Bryce Underwood. They're taking Brent Venables over Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore, by the way, former Oklahoma Sooner, now the head coach at Michigan. You guys have any interesting takes on that game just to pass on?
The thing I'm going to be watching in this game, nothing as far as a score pick on this game. Neither one's played it somebody where you can make a accurate prediction attempt. Oklahoma's offensive line against Michigan's defense. That's what I'm watching because that is what will come out of this game one way or the other. I think that's truly going to impact Oklahoma's season. How does their offensive line hold up against Michigan's talent on defense? Because Oklahoma plays a really tough schedule with a lot of talented defensive players.
To add to that point, Gerry, schematically, really interesting point from both of these teams. Brent Venables loves to blitz. He's on the blitz happiest defensive minds out there. Blitz is like a 41% rate, I think, since he has been at Oklahoma. Wink Martindale, everybody knows Wink Martindale, defensive coordinator for Michigan, always been blitz happy. Last year, he blitzed at around a 43% rate. So which one of these quarterbacks can handle the blitz the best? That'll be, I think, largely determined, or kind of break tendency, largely determine who wins this matchup.
Mateer likes to run the ball, and if Michigan's going to bring the blitz, we'll see if they catch them there. I definitely think the Sooners should win this game. Let's see if they emerge without any major injuries. If Michigan's going to blitz a bunch, that's something to watch. And OU's offensive line did not have a great game out of the gate. apparently. All right, a couple other games that I think are interesting. 2:30 game on ABC. This is the one that follows Texas San Jose State today. Is Ole Miss going to Kentucky? I mentioned this one only because Kentucky beat Ole Miss in Oxford last year. Ole Miss goes to Lexington and is an 8.5-point favorite. That's the 2:30 game on ABC. Also in conference, Kansas goes to Missouri. Missouri, a 6.5-point favorite. They ran all over their opponent last week with the new quarterback transfer from Penn State, Bo Pridlue. And then 6:30, we have Arizona State going to Mississippi State. I wanted to mention that one because obviously Texas has Mississippi State and had recently played Arizona State back at the start of the year. And then last but not least, this week I wanted to mention in conference, Vandy going to Virginia Tech. It was Virginia Tech a year ago where Vandy served notice, hey, we're going to be a little bit better than maybe what some people are thinking about in that one. Y'all have any comments on those games on the whole?
Yeah, so Virginia Tech has 4 or 5 really good defensive players that'll be drafted or play on Sundays. They showed up against Lenora Sellers. That's a big game for Vanderbilt because that's a road game. And we'll see. Kyron Drones made 2 critical errors against South Carolina last week that really turned that game. South Carolina's offensive line did not perform well. I think Ole Miss, I'm not sure Ole Miss can get up for a revenge game when that many players change, but I think this is the least talented Kentucky team we've seen in a while. I like Arizona State big over Mississippi State. I think that's Arizona State's got a lot of guys back. They've now played in big games. They're going to go on the road and they're going to be focused. And I just don't think Mississippi State has the players to hang with Arizona State. I'm not saying they won't give them a game, but I like Arizona State by a couple of touchdowns pulling away in that one.
Yeah, Jordan Tyson, that kid's the truth, man. Yeah. Him being injured when they played Texas, that was quite a blessing for Texas, honestly. And the young man's going to be a hell of a player. Going to be a first-round pick. So I agree with Gerry. The Arizona State, they're going to make quick work of Mississippi State. Sam Levitt, too. I mean, he's a baller. That Ole Miss game, though, Ole Miss pass protection worries me. They got skilled talent everywhere, and everybody knows that, if you start talking about one of the great offensive minds, Lane Kiffin gets it done every year. And they got a running back now, Keywan Lacey. Dude had 13 forced missed tackles.
Yeah, he's from Lancaster High.
In the game, so they're going to be able to run the rock. So I think that pass protection issues, they won't be enough for Kentucky to be able to take advantage of it. But that's something to watch later on. But I like Ole Miss in that matchup. And the border war is back between Kansas and Missouri. That thing is getting nasty online. But I like Missouri in there, I think. Even though I love Jalen Daniels as a quarterback from Kansas, I think I like Missouri in that matchup.
And the running back Ahmad Hardy that transferred from UL Monroe was really good against Texas as a true freshman. And then Bo Pridlue he is a really good athlete at the quarterback position. They can run it from both spots. I thought that showed up last week, and I expect more of a heavy dose of Hardy in this game from Missouri.
I almost forgot this game. Florida, who is Texas's first SEC opponent in 4 weeks, they go up against a South Florida team that is a little spunky, I guess is the best way to put it. They upset Boise State last week. South Florida, 17.5-point underdogs going to Gainesville. You would think Florida handles them pretty easily, but you never know. We'll see how that goes.
I want us to comment on that. Byron Brown, the quarterback for South Florida, is 6'3", 235, and he is a big physical guy. He is going to challenge. This will be the first of 3 straight physical games for Florida. South Florida at LSU at Miami. Then they get that off week before Texas. They're going to need it. Now, Bobby, let's get to Aggie on Aggie crime.
Can I say one thing you got to watch, though? DJ Lagway has got a nasty deep ball. He's a monster on the deep ball. And South Florida, man, they're basically their explosive pass rate allowed is like 5th worst in the country in the last 2 years. Like they allow a lot of explosive pass plays, a ton. Watch that.
So in other words, you're thinking DJ Lagway going to have a day,
man.
If his arms working, he's going.
He's going downtown.
All right, Aggie on Aggie crime, as Gerry called it. Utah State A&M at 11:45 on the SEC network. The Aggies, the ones in College Station, 31.5-point favorites. Not going to talk much about that. They should take care of business. Arkansas State goes to Arkansas. How long will the Hogs run? That's an old saying back in the state of Arkansas, because they would never play Arkansas State back in the old days. Now they're playing them, 23.5-point favorites. Louisiana Tech goes to LSU. Ball State goes to Auburn, and ULM goes to Alabama.
You know, I got to mention that game.
Yeah.
The last time ULM beat Bama, the OC got fired, and that was Coach Major Applewhite. If ULM beats Bama today, the head coach is getting fired. Just to put that out there. There's no coming back from that. That was year one under Saban.
Hey, got some others. Iowa State is the game opposite Texas today at 11 on Fox. Then there's some interesting games in state if you just keep up with that kind of stuff. Baylor, SMU. Baylor going to the Hilltop. SMU favored by 2.5. Houston going and playing Rice in the Bayou Bucket. Houston favored by 13.5. And then maybe this one should be fun, in my opinion, based on the two characters in the game. Oklahoma State going to Oregon. Dan Lanning and Mike Gindy having at it. But that's a full slate of college football. I'm really interested, though, as we mentioned, I'm interested to see what happens here with Texas today against San Jose State. Any final thoughts, Rod and Gerry, before we leave folks on this Saturday morning?
My big one is running backs 3, 4, 5, and that's Christian Clark, Jarrett Gibson, James Simon. I think the next, and I've said this all season, I'm going to stick with it, or all preseason. The next 3 weeks are going to show you a lot about the running backs that can make an impact, along with Wisner and Baxter this year. Is Christian Clark, who's the presumed 3, going to be that guy? Is one of the other 2 guys in game action going to make a move? I'm really watching to see what running back out of that group emerges as somebody, because running backs are going to get nicked up this year. Who's going to emerge as the guy if a Baxter goes down or a Wisner goes down, and what can they bring to this team? I think that's going to be big to watch starting Saturday.
Yep. I want to see the passing game look crisp, because that was not the case in game 1. So I would like to see – I want to see Arch look comfortable, and I want to see Arch throw in with rhythm and with confidence, and I want to see the passing game look efficient. So that's all I want. I think the running game is going to be great, because everything should look great, honestly, versus San Jose State. But the passing game, that's what's going to be my focus.
If it doesn't, we're going to reconnoiter later today and talk about that. If it doesn't go well. But I would just hop on things that y'all said. I would also add in, interested to see Nick Brooks, the big giant offensive tackle, see how he looks maybe in some duty today. Dalen McCutcheon may get more attempts, more targets. He's the young receiver that Sark seems to be really high on and has put in the game already last week. And then Nick Townsend at tight end as well. Should be interesting to line up today, not only for Texas, but also for across college football. That's going to do it for this morning's Saturday conversation. If you're driving in to the game, whether it's from Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, or parts in between, East Texas, West Texas, make sure you check us out on the tailgate later today. You can come by the tailgate. Actually, it's up on Robert Dedman Drive next to the Thompson Center, just down a little bit from the LBJ Library. Hope you guys can see us there. We'll also have the tailgate show brought to you by our friends at Hargrave, as well as the Von Lane Watch with Us. That comes on at 11 with Aaron Hogan hosting. And then Flight by Yingling, the post-game show. Rod, myself, Brian Robeson, all involved there. Blake, Gerry?
I got to add, I said I wasn't shaving, Rod, until Texas scored a touchdown in the red zone this season. There's so many grays. I don't like these grays, guys.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Punch that thing in 3 hours. Let's go.
All right, guys, you have a good one. We'll see you here in a couple hours. Look up horns.